Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever felt like you're pouring yourself into a relationship, a friendship, or even a workplace only to feel drained, undervalued, and invisible? It's as if no matter how much you give, it's never enough. You feel like you're running on empty, chasing validation that never seems to come. Today, I want to tell you something that will shift your life when you stop caring. Their reaction will shock you. Let me explain. Detachment is a concept often misunderstood, yet it holds the key to personal freedom and emotional clarity. When people hear the word detachment, they may think of coldness, indifference, or a lack of empathy. But true detachment is far from these misconceptions. It is, in fact, a state of emotional intelligence that allows you to love, care, and engage with others without being consumed by their reactions, behaviors, or the outcomes of situations. It's about maintaining your sense of self amidst the chaos and expectations of the world around you. To grasp the essence of detachment, it's crucial to first understand what happens when you lack it. Imagine being so invested in another person's feelings or opinions that your mood rises and falls with their approval. Their criticism moves you deeply, and their validation becomes your lifeline. You find yourself constantly worrying about what they think, whether they're happy with you or if you've done enough to keep their attention. This kind of emotional dependency is exhausting. It drains your energy, clouds your judgment, and ultimately leaves you feeling powerless. Now, consider the opposite. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring about others or their well-being. Instead, it means you stop being attached to their reactions. You stop measuring your worth by how they treat you or what they say about you. You stop seeking permission to feel good about yourself. Detachment is about creating a healthy boundary between your emotions and external influences. It's about recognizing that while you can love and support someone, you are not responsible for their happiness, nor are they responsible for yours. This shift is powerful because it puts you back in control of your own emotional state. When you're detached, you no longer feel the need to chase validation or approval. You no longer bend over backward to meet unrealistic expectations or sacrifice your own needs to please others. Instead, you approach relationships and situations with a sense of inner stability. You give from a place of abundance rather than lack, and you stop allowing others to dictate your sense of self-worth. Detachment also requires letting go of the need to control outcomes. So often people cling tightly to expectations of how things should be, whether it's in their relationships, careers, or personal goals. They become fixated on a specific result and pour all their energy into trying to make it happen. But life is unpredictable, and outcomes are rarely within your complete control. When you attach yourself to a particular result, you set yourself up for disappointment and frustration when things don't go as planned. In contrast, detachment allows you to pursue your goals and nurture your relationships without being consumed by fear or anxiety about the future. It frees you to live in the present moment, appreciating what you have without constantly worrying about what you might lose. It also helps you adapt to change with grace and resilience because you're not clinging to a rigid idea of how things should unfold. This doesn't mean detachment is easy. It requires a conscious effort to shift your mindset and break free from deeply ingrained patterns of thought and behavior. It's natural to want to feel needed, appreciated, and loved. It's natural to care about what others think, especially those closest to you. But when this care becomes a compulsion, when it starts to dictate your actions and consume your thoughts, it becomes unhealthy. Detachment is the practice of recognizing when this line is crossed and taking steps to restore balance. One of the most challenging aspects of detachment is dealing with the discomfort it can bring. When you stop over-caring, you may feel a void. You might question whether you're doing the right thing or fear that others will think you've become distant or selfish. This is where inner work comes into play. Detachment requires a strong sense of self-awareness and self-worth. You have to trust that taking care of yourself and setting boundaries is not only acceptable but necessary for your well-being. It's also important to understand that detachment is not a one-size-fits-all process. It looks different for everyone depending on their circumstances and relationships. For some, it might mean stepping back from a toxic relationship that has been draining their energy. For others, it could mean letting go of the need to control every detail of a project at work. Regardless of the specifics, the underlying principle is the same. Detachment is about creating space for yourself to thrive without being weighed down by external pressures. When you practice detachment, you may notice a shift not only in yourself but also in how others respond to you. People are often drawn to those who exude confidence and emotional independence. They admire those who can care deeply without losing themselves in the process. Detachment doesn't push people away, it invites healthier, more balanced connections. It creates an environment where mutual respect and understanding can flourish because both parties are coming from a place of emotional wholeness rather than neediness or dependency. Moreover, detachment doesn't mean you stop giving or contributing to others. On the contrary, it allows you to give more authentically and effectively. When you're not burdened by the need for reciprocation or approval, your actions come from a place of genuine care and generosity. You're able to support others without depleting yourself, which makes your contributions more impactful and sustainable in the long run. Detachment is also deeply empowering because it shifts the focus from external validation to internal fulfillment. Instead of looking to others for your sense of worth, you begin to find it within yourself. This inner strength becomes a source of resilience that helps you navigate life's challenges with greater ease and confidence. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself to anyone because you know your value is inherent, not something that depends on external circumstances. At its core, detachment is about freedom from the constant tug of war between your needs and the expectations of others, freedom from the anxiety of trying to control what you cannot, and freedom to live authentically and unapologetically. It's a journey of self-discovery and growth that requires patience, practice, and a willingness to let go of what no longer serves you. As you embrace detachment, you'll find that it not only transforms your relationship with others, but also deepens your relationship with yourself. When you overinvest in others, whether in relationships, friendships, or professional settings, you inadvertently create a dynamic of dependency. This dependency is subtle at first and often goes unnoticed, but over time, it becomes a defining feature of the connection. People begin to rely on your constant availability, your willingness to give without question, and your ability to solve problems or provide support, no matter the cost to yourself. This dynamic is not necessarily malicious or intentional, but it can be harmful to both parties involved. The person who gives too much becomes depleted, while the one who receives too much often grows complacent and takes the giver for granted. Dependency dynamics thrive in environments where boundaries are unclear or non-existent. When you consistently prioritize someone else's needs over your own, you send an unspoken message: your needs are more important than mine. Over time, this creates an imbalance where one person becomes the giver and the other the taker. The taker may not even realize they are doing this. They've simply grown accustomed to the dynamic. However, the giver often feels unappreciated, overlooked, and eventually resentful. The heart of this issue lies in a lack of mutual effort. Healthy relationships, whether personal or professional, are built on reciprocity, both parties contributing equally, albeit in different ways. When one person gives excessively while the other gives little to nothing, the relationship becomes one-sided. This imbalance fosters a sense of entitlement in the taker. They come to expect the giver's effort, assuming it will always be there regardless of their own actions. This entitlement is reinforced when the giver doesn't set boundaries or voice their concerns. The more you overinvest in others without expecting anything in return, the more you enable their dependency on you. They begin to see your sacrifices as normal and even necessary. This is why it often comes as a shock when the giver decides to pull back or stop overinvesting. The taker is forced to confront a reality they had previously ignored: the giver's value and the role they played in maintaining the connection. When you stop overinvesting, it disrupts the established dynamic. The dependency that had been quietly growing is now exposed, and the taker is left to confront the void left by your absence. This disruption can provoke a range of reactions. Some people may become defensive or angry, accusing you of being selfish or uncaring. Others may become introspective, realizing the imbalance and seeking to correct it. This moment of disruption is crucial because it reveals the true nature of the connection. If the taker values you in the relationship, they will likely make an effort to restore balance. They might start contributing more, acknowledging your efforts, and showing gratitude for what you bring to the table. On the other hand, if the taker is unwilling to change or invest in the relationship, it becomes clear that their interest was more about what they could gain from you than a genuine connection. Recognizing and addressing dependency dynamics requires a deep level of self-awareness. You must first acknowledge your role in creating and sustaining the dynamic. This doesn't mean blaming yourself, it means taking responsibility for the choices you've made. Ask yourself why you've been overinvesting. Is it out of a desire to be liked or needed? Is it because you fear rejection or conflict? Understanding your motivations is the first step toward breaking free from unhealthy patterns. Once you've identified the reasons behind your behavior, the next step is to establish boundaries. Boundaries are not about shutting people out or being unkind. They are about protecting your energy and ensuring that your relationships are balanced and healthy. Setting boundaries can be uncomfortable, especially if you've been overgiving for a long time. People who have grown accustomed to your constant support may resist or push back against these changes. However, this discomfort is temporary and necessary for creating healthier dynamics. When you begin to pull back and stop overinvesting, you may notice a shift in how people treat you. Some may try harder to maintain the connection while others may distance themselves. Both outcomes are revealing. The people who make an effort to adapt and meet you halfway are likely those who genuinely value you. They are willing to adjust their behavior to preserve the relationship. In contrast, those who withdraw or react negatively may have been more invested in what you could do for them than in you as a person. It's important to remember that breaking free from dependency dynamics is not about punishing others or seeking revenge. It's about reclaiming your power and creating space for healthier, more fulfilling relationships. When you stop overinvesting, you free yourself from the burden of trying to meet everyone else's expectations. You allow yourself to focus on what truly matters to you, whether that's your personal growth, career, or well-being. In doing so, you also set a powerful example for others. By valuing yourself and establishing boundaries, you show people how to treat you and how to approach relationships with respect and reciprocity. You demonstrate that a healthy connection is built on mutual effort and appreciation, not on one person constantly giving while the other takes. This shift not only benefits you, but also encourages others to reflect on their own behaviors and relationships. This process requires patience and resilience. It's not easy to change long-standing patterns, especially when they involve people you care about deeply. However, the rewards are worth the effort. By addressing and transforming dependency dynamics, you create a foundation for relationships that are more balanced, authentic, and empowering. Emotional detachment is not about becoming cold or unfeeling. It's about protecting your inner peace and maintaining a sense of balance in your life. When you invest too much emotional energy in how others perceive you, you give them power over your happiness, self-esteem, and decisions. The act of emotionally detaching allows you to regain control, enabling you to focus on what truly matters in your life without being swayed by the opinions, actions, or expectations of others. At its core, emotional detachment is about establishing a healthy boundary between yourself and the external forces that seek to influence you. It's about understanding that your worth is not determined by how others treat you or what they think of you. Too often, people fall into the trap of seeking validation from others, believing that their value is tied to external approval. This mindset can lead to a cycle of people-pleasing, overextension, and emotional exhaustion. When you care too much about others' opinions, you begin to lose sight of your own desires and needs. You may find yourself constantly trying to meet others' expectations, even if it means compromising your own values or neglecting your own well-being. This overinvestment in others' perceptions creates a dynamic where you are always chasing approval, yet rarely feeling fulfilled. Emotional detachment breaks this cycle by teaching you to prioritize your inner world over external validation. The first step in emotional detachment is recognizing the triggers that make you overly reactive to others' opinions. These triggers often stem from past experiences such as childhood conditioning, societal expectations, or unresolved insecurities. For example, if you were raised in an environment where praise was conditional on meeting certain standards, you may have developed a deep-seated need for approval. Similarly, if you face criticism or rejection in the past, you may be hypersensitive to others' judgments. Understanding these triggers allows you to approach them with compassion and self-awareness rather than letting them control your emotions. Another critical aspect of emotional detachment is learning to differentiate between constructive feedback and unnecessary criticism. Not all opinions are created equal, and not all criticisms deserve your attention. Constructive feedback, when delivered with good intentions, can help you grow and improve. However, unnecessary criticism often stems from others' insecurities, biases, or misunderstandings. By detaching emotionally, you can evaluate the validity of others' opinions without internalizing them. This empowers you to respond thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. Emotional detachment also involves cultivating a strong sense of self. When you are deeply connected to your values, goals, and beliefs, you become less susceptible to external influences. This inner clarity acts as a compass, guiding your decisions and actions regardless of what others think. For example, if you know that pursuing a certain career path aligns with your passions and long-term aspirations, you can remain steadfast in your choice even if others doubt or criticize it. This confidence in your own path is a hallmark of emotional detachment. Practicing mindfulness is a powerful way to strengthen emotional detachment. Mindfulness teaches you to observe your thoughts and emotions without judgment, allowing you to create space between stimulus and response. When faced with criticism or disapproval, mindfulness helps you pause and reflect rather than reacting immediately. This pause is crucial because it allows you to assess the situation objectively, determine whether the criticism is valid, and decide how to respond or whether a response is even necessary. Emotional detachment also requires you to embrace the reality that you cannot control how others think or behave. This realization can be liberating as it frees you from the burden of trying to please everyone. People's opinions are shaped by their own experiences, biases, and perspectives, which have little to do with you. By accepting this truth, you can focus on what you can control: your own actions, attitudes, and choices. A significant part of emotional detachment is learning to say no without guilt. Many people struggle with setting boundaries because they fear rejection or conflict. However, saying no is an essential skill for maintaining your emotional well-being. It allows you to protect your time, energy, and priorities from being consumed by others' demands. When you practice saying no, you assert your right to prioritize yourself without feeling the need to justify or explain your decisions. Emotional detachment is not about becoming indifferent or uncaring. It's about finding a balance between compassion for others and self-respect. You can care deeply about someone while still maintaining healthy boundaries. In fact, detachment often strengthens relationships by reducing codependency and fostering mutual respect. When you are not overly invested in controlling or fixing others, you allow them the freedom to take responsibility for their own choices and growth. Developing emotional detachment takes time and practice. It requires you to unlearn deeply ingrained habits of seeking validation, overreacting to criticism, and placing others' needs above your own. This process may be challenging at first, as it forces you to confront uncomfortable truths about yourself and your relationships. However, the rewards are profound. By detaching emotionally, you create space for self-discovery, personal growth, and genuine connections with others. As you cultivate emotional detachment, you may notice changes in how others react to you. People who are accustomed to your constant availability or willingness to please may feel unsettled by your newfound independence. They may try to test your boundaries or manipulate you into returning to old patterns. These reactions are not a reflection of your worth, but rather an indication of their own discomfort with change. By staying grounded in your values and priorities, you can navigate these challenges with grace and confidence. Emotional detachment also enhances your ability to navigate life's uncertainties. When you are less affected by others' opinions, you become more resilient in the face of setbacks and challenges. You develop the inner strength to pursue your goals and dreams, even when the path is difficult or lonely. This resilience allows you to stay focused on what truly matters rather than being derailed by external distractions or negativity. Observing how people react when you withdraw your attention can be one of the most revealing experiences. Attention is a form of energy, and when you stop giving it freely, it disrupts the dynamics in your relationships and interactions. For some, it may feel like a shock to their system as they've grown accustomed to your constant availability, validation, or emotional investment. The shift can expose hidden motives, unspoken expectations, and the true nature of their connection with you. People often take for granted what is consistently present in their lives. When you are always there to listen, help, or support them without conditions, they can develop a sense of entitlement to your energy. This entitlement may not always be malicious. It often grows out of human nature's tendency to adapt to what feels predictable and reliable. However, when you pull back your attention, it forces people to reassess their assumptions. Suddenly, they realize that the energy you brought to their lives was not a guarantee, but a choice you made consciously. This shift often brings out surprising reactions. Some people may become more attentive and appreciative, recognizing the value of what they had. They might reach out, apologize, or attempt to reestablish a connection, realizing they took you for granted. Others, however, may react with frustration, anger, or even manipulation. These responses reveal a deeper truth. They were more invested in what they could get from you than in a balanced and reciprocal relationship. Their discomfort arises because your withdrawal has upset the dynamic that benefited them, often at your expense. When you stop caring in the way they expect, it can also highlight the imbalances in the relationship. Perhaps you were the one always making the effort, carrying the emotional weight, or providing support while receiving little in return. By pulling back, you create space for these imbalances to become apparent. People who genuinely value you will step up to fill the gap, while those who are merely using you will fade away or lash out. This process may be painful, but it is ultimately liberating because it allows you to see who is truly aligned with your well-being. The reactions you observe can also teach you about the power dynamics that existed in the relationship. When someone reacts with hostility or resentment to your withdrawal, it often indicates that they were relying on your attention to maintain their sense of control or importance. Your decision to disengage disrupts this dynamic, forcing them to confront their own insecurities or dependencies. In contrast, those who respect your boundaries and acknowledge your need for space demonstrate a healthier and more mature approach to relationships. Pulling back your attention can also create a ripple effect in your own personal growth. When you stop caring excessively about others' reactions, you free up mental and emotional energy to focus on yourself. This shift allows you to reflect on what you truly want and need, rather than being consumed by the expectations or demands of others. It's a chance to realign your priorities and build a stronger connection with your own values and goals. Moreover, observing others' reactions can be a powerful lesson in self-respect. When you see people trying to manipulate, guilt, or pressure you into returning to your old patterns, it reinforces the importance of maintaining your boundaries. These experiences teach you to recognize the tactics people use to regain control and help you develop the resilience to stand firm in your decisions. Each time you resist the urge to give in, you strengthen your sense of self-worth and reinforce the message that your energy is valuable and not to be taken lightly. At times, the reactions may surprise you in positive ways. Someone you thought didn't care might suddenly express their appreciation or make an effort to improve the relationship. These moments can be deeply affirming, showing you that your withdrawal was a catalyst for growth and reflection in others. However, it's important to approach these situations with caution, ensuring that the changes are genuine and not just temporary attempts to regain your attention. It's also crucial to recognize that not everyone will react in a way that aligns with your expectations or desires. Some people may choose to walk away entirely, interpreting your withdrawal as a rejection. While this can be difficult to process, it's important to remember that their reaction is not a reflection of your worth. Instead, it's an indication of their own readiness or lack thereof to engage in a healthier, more balanced relationship. Letting go of these connections creates space for new, more fulfilling relationships to enter your life. This process of pulling back and observing reactions requires a great deal of emotional strength and self-awareness. It can be tempting to second-guess your decision or feel guilty for upsetting the status quo. However, it's essential to remind yourself that prioritizing your well-being is not selfish, it's a necessary step in building a life that aligns with your values and goals. By stepping back, you are setting a powerful example of self-respect and demonstrating to others that you will not compromise your worth for their comfort. Through this journey, you may also come to understand the importance of selective attention. Not everyone deserves the same level of access to your energy and emotions. By observing how people react when you stop caring excessively, you can identify those who truly value and support you. These are the relationships worth nurturing as they contribute to your growth and happiness rather than draining your energy. Conversely, the reactions of others can help you recognize when it's time to let go of toxic or one-sided connections. Observing reactions also deepens your understanding of human behavior and relationships. You begin to see patterns in how people respond to boundaries, and this knowledge empowers you to navigate future interactions with greater confidence and clarity. You learn to trust your instincts and recognize when someone's actions align or fail to align with their words. This discernment becomes a valuable tool in building relationships based on mutual respect and understanding. The act of stepping back and observing can be transformative not only for your relationships but also for your overall sense of empowerment. It reinforces the idea that you are in control of your energy and attention, and that you have the right to decide how and where to invest them. This realization is a powerful step toward living a more intentional and fulfilling life, free from the constraints of seeking approval or validation from others. When you decide to step back and stop caring in the way you once did, you are creating an opportunity to evaluate the authentic intentions of those around you. Human interactions are often layered with unspoken expectations and subtle dynamics that can cloud your perception of reality. By withdrawing your emotional investment, you force these dynamics to surface, exposing what might have been hidden beneath the facade of words or actions. It's a revealing process, one that grants you the ability to understand the true motivations of the people you interact with daily. When people sense a shift in your behavior, their initial reactions often stem from their own feelings of loss or insecurity. They may begin to question their standing in your life, leading to behavior that is either illuminating or unsettling. For instance, someone who genuinely values your presence may take steps to reach out, clarify misunderstandings, or adjust their behavior to show their appreciation for you. Their efforts to repair or maintain the connection indicate sincerity and mutual respect. On the other hand, those who relied on your care as a means to an end might react in manipulative or dismissive ways, revealing their lack of true regard for you. This process also unveils the conditionality of many relationships. Often people form attachments not to who you are as a person, but to what you provide for them, be it emotional support, validation, or practical assistance. When you stop providing those things, it disrupts the foundation of the relationship. Some individuals will show genuine concern and adapt because they value you beyond what you offer. However, others may respond with irritation or indifference, exposing a lack of depth in their connection to you. This revelation can be painful, but it is also empowering because it allows you to separate superficial relationships from meaningful ones. As you pull back, you may also notice that some people begin to test your boundaries. They might use guilt, anger, or even charm to try and coax you back into the dynamic that benefits them. These behaviors are telling as they reveal their inability to respect your autonomy. Rather than acknowledging the shift and seeking to understand your perspective, they focus on regaining control or ensuring their needs continue to be met. This kind of reaction is a red flag, signaling a relationship that is likely unbalanced and potentially harmful to your well-being. Conversely, those who genuinely care about you will exhibit a different kind of response. They will respect your space and show patience, understanding that your withdrawal is not necessarily a rejection of them, but a step toward prioritizing your own needs. These individuals may even take the opportunity to reflect on their own behavior and make changes to strengthen the relationship. Their actions will align with their words, creating a sense of trust and mutual respect that fosters a deeper and more meaningful connection. This process also sheds light on how people perceive their role in your life. For some, your consistent care and attention may have created a dynamic where they felt indispensable or overly secure. When you step back, it challenges this perception and forces them to reconsider their own contributions to the relationship. Do they bring value to your life, or have they been relying on you to carry the emotional weight? The answer to this question often becomes evident in how they respond to your withdrawal. Those who step up and take responsibility for their part in the relationship demonstrate a willingness to grow and adapt, while those who react negatively often reveal a lack of accountability or self-awareness. Withdrawing your care also allows you to observe how people handle discomfort. When someone feels the loss of your attention, their reaction can reveal their capacity for emotional maturity and resilience. Some individuals may take the time to introspect, asking themselves why the dynamic has changed and what they can do to improve it. This kind of thoughtful response indicates a person who values growth and understands the importance of reciprocity in relationships. Others, however, may react impulsively or defensively, blaming you for the shift without considering their own role in the situation. This reaction highlights an unwillingness to face difficult emotions or take responsibility for their actions. The clarity that comes from stepping back is invaluable. It allows you to see people as they truly are, free from the illusions created by your own investment in the relationship. When you are deeply involved, it's easy to overlook red flags or rationalize behavior that doesn't align with your values. By withdrawing, you gain the perspective needed to evaluate these dynamics objectively. This clarity helps you identify relationships that uplift and support you, as well as those that drain your energy and hinder your growth. Additionally, this process teaches you about your own patterns and tendencies in relationships. You may realize that you've been overextending yourself, giving more than you receive, or prioritizing others' needs at the expense of your own. By observing how people react to your withdrawal, you gain insights into the dynamics you've been participating in and the changes you need to make to create healthier and more balanced connections. Ultimately, withdrawing your care allows you to reclaim your energy and redirect it toward yourself and the relationships that truly matter. It's an act of self-respect, one that empowers you to set boundaries and prioritize your own well-being. As you do so, you'll find that the relationships worth keeping will adapt and grow stronger, while those that were never meant to last will fade away. This process may not be easy, but it is a necessary step in creating a life that is aligned with your values and filled with connections that bring genuine joy and fulfillment. When you make the decision to stop caring in the way you once did, you create a ripple effect that alters the energy dynamics of your interactions with others. This shift is not merely about pulling back emotionally, it's a profound statement that you are reclaiming your own power and setting boundaries that prioritize your well-being. What follows is a transformative process where the true essence of those around you becomes undeniably clear and the intentions behind their actions come into sharp focus. People often operate within the unspoken understanding that you will always be there, always accommodating, always willing to invest your time and energy into them. This expectation can lead to complacency, where your efforts are taken for granted and the balance in the relationship tilts unfavorably. However, the moment you stop overextending yourself, the dynamics change. Those who have grown accustomed to relying on your care may initially react with confusion, frustration, or even anger. Their reactions, however, are not about you, they are about the sudden loss of a dynamic they had come to depend on. This loss forces them to confront their own patterns and their role in the relationship. As the shift unfolds, you may notice that certain individuals start to distance themselves, not because they lack affection or respect for you, but because they are unwilling or unable to reciprocate the effort and care you previously provided. These are the people who were comfortable in a dynamic where they benefited without having to invest equally. Their withdrawal is revealing, as it underscores a lack of depth or mutuality in the relationship. It can be difficult to witness this retreat, especially if you have believed in the strength of the bond, but it is also liberating because it frees you from a connection that was inherently one-sided. Conversely, there are those who will rise to the occasion when faced with your withdrawal. These are the individuals who value you not for what you provide, but for who you are. They will take notice of the change and make an effort to bridge the gap, demonstrating through their actions that they are willing to invest in the relationship. Their responses are thoughtful and intentional, rooted in a desire to maintain a genuine connection. These are the relationships that deserve your energy and attention, as they are built on a foundation of respect, care, and reciprocity. The process of stepping back also highlights how people respond to boundaries. When you stop caring excessively, you are in essence drawing a line that says, "This is where I end," and you begin. Those who respect your autonomy will honor this boundary, understanding that your decision is not an act of rejection but an act of self-care. Their ability to accept your choice without resistance or resentment is a testament to their emotional maturity and respect for your individuality. On the other hand, those who challenge or push against your boundaries reveal their inability to respect your needs. They may try to manipulate the situation using guilt, anger, or charm to reestablish the dynamic that benefits them. These behaviors are indicative of a lack of regard for your autonomy and are clear signs that the relationship may not be serving your highest good. One of the most eye-opening aspects of stepping back is the way it forces others to reevaluate their own contributions to the relationship. When you are no longer the one shouldering the emotional burden or constantly reaching out to maintain the connection, others are left to confront their own role in the dynamic. Some may realize they have been passive participants, relying on your effort to sustain the relationship. This realization can lead to growth and positive change as they take steps to become more active and engaged. Others, however, may resist this self-reflection, choosing instead to blame you for the shift. Their unwillingness to take responsibility for their actions or inactions is a telling indicator of the limitations of the relationship. This process also sheds light on how people handle discomfort and change. When someone feels the loss of your care, their reaction can range from introspection to defensiveness. Those who take the time to reflect on why the dynamic has changed and what they can do to address it demonstrate a capacity for growth and emotional intelligence. They recognize that relationships are a two-way street and are willing to make adjustments to strengthen the bond. On the other hand, individuals who react with anger, blame, or denial reveal an inability to navigate the complexities of relationships in a healthy and constructive way. Their reactions are not about you, but about their own insecurities and unmet expectations. As you step back, you also gain a deeper understanding of your own patterns and tendencies. You may begin to see how much of yourself you have given away in an attempt to maintain connections, often at the expense of your own needs and well-being. This realization can be both humbling and empowering, as it provides you with the clarity needed to make changes that honor your boundaries and prioritize your happiness. By withdrawing your care, you are not only redefining the dynamics of your relationships, but also reclaiming the parts of yourself that may have been lost in the process of giving too much. The clarity that comes from this process is invaluable. It allows you to see people for who they truly are, free from the distortions created by your own emotional investment. This newfound perspective enables you to discern which relationships are worth nurturing and which are better left behind. It's not about cutting people off or building walls, but about creating space for relationships that are genuine, balanced, and fulfilling. The people who truly matter will understand and respect your decision, while those who don't will reveal their true colors. This journey of stepping back is not without its challenges. It requires courage, patience, and a willingness to face uncomfortable truths about yourself and others. However, the rewards are profound. You will find that as you let go of relationships that drain your energy, you create room for connections that uplift and inspire you. You will also discover a newfound sense of peace and empowerment as you learn to prioritize your own well-being and honor your own needs. When you stop caring in the way you once did, it creates a noticeable void, a sudden shift in the rhythm of how others interact with you. This void is a mirror reflecting not only their reactions, but also the deep psychological dynamics at play within them. People are often creatures of habit, accustomed to routines and relationships that validate their existence. When that consistent care is withdrawn, it forces them to face the reality of who they are without your constant affirmation. This absence can act as a catalyst, stirring their insecurities, exposing hidden fears, and compelling them to confront parts of themselves they might otherwise avoid. Human beings are inherently social creatures, and much of their identity is built on the way others perceive and interact with them. When you consistently show care, attention, and concern, it reinforces a sense of stability and self-worth in those around you. Over time, they come to depend on this external validation, often unconsciously. Your care becomes a safety net, a source of comfort they might not even recognize until it is no longer there. The moment you step back, their world shifts, and this change can feel unsettling. It forces them to reassess their place in your life and their role in the relationship. This disruption can trigger a range of emotions. For some, it manifests as confusion. They may question why the dynamic has changed and replay past interactions in their minds, searching for clues about what went wrong. This internal questioning can lead to self-awareness and growth as they begin to see how their actions or inactions may have contributed to the shift. For others, however, the response is more defensive. They may lash out, blaming you for the change, or they may attempt to guilt you into resuming your previous level of care. These reactions are often driven by a fear of abandonment or rejection, deeply rooted in their own insecurities and past experiences. In certain cases, people might resort to manipulative tactics to regain control over the situation. They might feign vulnerability, hoping to elicit sympathy, or they might employ passive-aggressive behavior to provoke a response. These actions are not necessarily calculated, but rather instinctual, a defense mechanism against the discomfort of feeling exposed or vulnerable. Recognizing these patterns is crucial because it allows you to maintain your boundaries without being drawn back into the cycle of overcaring. It is not your responsibility to manage their emotions or fix their discomfort. Your responsibility lies in preserving your own mental and emotional health. As you pull back, you also create an opportunity for others to step up. Those who genuinely value you and the relationship will feel the shift and make an effort to restore balance. They will reach out, not from a place of manipulation or desperation, but from a place of sincerity. These are the people who understand the value of mutual effort and are willing to invest in the relationship because they care about you as a person, not just about what you provide. Their actions speak louder than words, demonstrating a commitment to fostering a connection that is rooted in reciprocity and respect. On the other hand, there are those who will fade away when your care is no longer readily available. This withdrawal is telling, revealing the true nature of their intentions and priorities. While it may initially feel like a loss, it is in fact a blessing in disguise. It allows you to see clearly who is meant to be in your life and who is not. Relationships that rely solely on one person's effort are not sustainable and ultimately drain your energy and spirit. By letting go of these one-sided connections, you make room for relationships that uplift and nourish you. This shift also forces others to confront their own sense of entitlement. When people become accustomed to your care, they may begin to see it as something they are owed rather than a gift freely given. Your decision to step back challenges this mindset, compelling them to reevaluate their expectations and take responsibility for their own happiness. This can be a transformative experience, but only for those who are willing to do the inner work. For others, the discomfort may be too great, leading them to retreat or seek validation elsewhere. The ripple effect of your decision extends beyond individual relationships. It changes the way people perceive you as a whole. By setting boundaries and prioritizing your own well-being, you send a powerful message about your self-worth. This newfound confidence and clarity inspire respect, even from those who may not initially understand or appreciate your decision. Over time, people begin to see you as someone who values themselves and their energy, someone who is not easily swayed or manipulated. This shift in perception can attract new opportunities and relationships that align with your values and goals. As this process unfolds, you may also notice a shift within yourself. By withdrawing your care, you reclaim the energy and attention that were once directed outward. This allows you to refocus on your own needs, goals, and desires. You begin to recognize patterns in your behavior, understanding how and why you may have overextended yourself in the past. This self-awareness is empowering as it enables you to make choices that honor your own well-being without guilt or hesitation. This reclamation of energy also enhances your ability to discern between healthy and unhealthy relationships. You develop a heightened sensitivity to the dynamics at play, allowing you to recognize red flags and avoid falling into the same patterns in the future. This growth is not only beneficial for your own well-being, but also for the relationships you choose to nurture. By prioritizing mutual respect and effort, you create a foundation for connections that are more fulfilling and enduring. The reactions of others to your decision reveal more about them than they do about you. Whether they respond with anger, sadness, or understanding, their reactions are a reflection of their own internal struggles and growth or lack thereof. It is important to remember that you are not responsible for their feelings or their journey. Your decision to stop caring excessively is an act of self-love and self-respect, one that paves the way for a more balanced and fulfilling life.